More and more we've been seeing more automakers adding more subcompact SUVs to this already saturated segment. Most of them are economy boxes, which are lifeless and soul-sucking. Recently, more luxury brands seem to be taking note of this, and maybe the idea of the small SUV is changing. Can these little things actually turn out being nice? So this week we're taking a look at one of my favorites in this segment, the Volvo XC40. So I wanted to take some time and take a deep dive and see what's so good about this little mini moose. Hello my dear friends and welcome. I hope the week has been good for you. It certainly has been a bursting blue week for me. If you don't know much about this little moose next to me, the Volvo XC40, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. These were first introduced in September of 2017 for the 2018 model year, and it was positioned to be underneath the XC60. This was also the first new Volvo to be based on their compact modular architecture platform that's in collaboration with Geely. And if you didn't know, Volvo has been owned by a Chinese company named Geely since 2011. They came out with this CMA platform to maximize interior volume while keeping a relatively small exterior footprint. And you won't find this platform just underneath a Volvo. When the XC40 was originally debuted, it was an instant hit. This actually gained the award of being European Car of the Year for 2018, and get this, Japan's Car of the Year for both 2018 and 2019. People love these things. Like in other markets, like of course in Sweden and many other places, these are available with diesel engines. In America, you could only get the XC40 as a petrol normal 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, either as a T4, which was the 2-liter with 180 horsepower, or the T5, which is this one, which makes about 250. For the 2023 model year, the XC40 was slightly facelifted, given slightly different front and rear bumpers, slightly different interior trim, but most importantly, they got rid of the normal turbocharged 4-cylinder for the Turbo 4, but attached to a mild hybrid system. It's not a plug-in, but it was just there to assist in power and a little bit of efficiency as well. They also got rid of the T4 and T5 names for the B4 and B5 respectively. Volvo also came out with an electric version of the XC40 in 2019 for the 2020 model year. And then in this 23 facelift, it was also updated, and now Volvo added a single motor rear-wheel drive addition to the lineup, making that actually the first Volvo in 25 years to be rear-wheel drive. Otherwise, a few years later, we're still kicking it with the XC40, and it still is one of my favorites in the lineup. So this XC40 in particular belongs to my friend Joe. It's a 2020 XC40 T5 R-Design in the beautiful bursting blue. This really is one of my favorite new colors on Volvos. I guess I'd say besides the Rebel Blue on the slightly older Polestars. This thing is currently sitting at just about 87,000 miles, and he actually is selling it, so you might be the owner of a pretty blue XC40 if you're lucky. This thing is pretty much stock with the exception of some tasteful mods like window tints and also the JB4 piggyback tune. It's supposed to make this a little bit more pokey. In 2020, the original MSRP of an XC40 T5 R-Design was $42,940. You could also get a T4 R-Design, but only in front-wheel drive, and remember, 180 horsepower. So I know that I say this is an R-Design, but this is not going to be like a full-blown out S60 Polestar or an S60R. The R-Design did add a bunch of sporty bits to the XC40 that definitely make it look more appealing, like these big 20-inch wheels that really look much better. This has sport suspension, so it's a little bit stiffer. You also have the upgraded sport seats with a different material. And then also there's a bunch of black trim on the outside, like the black mirror caps, the black grille, and there's some aluminum trim pieces on the interior that add to the sporty R theme. But of course, the engine stays the same. If you're not feeling the whole sporty theme of the R-Design, thankfully Volvo offered plenty of other configurations of the XC40 to choose from. Starting at the T4 Momentum for $34,000, the T5 Momentum for $36,000, the T4 R-Design for $40,000, then the T4 Inscription for $41,000, T5 R-Design like this one for $42,000, and then the T5 Inscription for for $43,000. So there really is a Mazda amount of trim levels in this little Volvo. So because we're in America, in this case, you could only choose a 2-liter petrol-powered 4-cylinder turbo. But I do find it interesting that, of course, in Europe, you could get this with a diesel, and you could get this with a manual transmission. A little bit of a side note, when I worked at Volvo back in the day, it was cool. I'd see some Diplomat XC40s that were diesel and manual. But today we're going to be talking about the most powerful XC40 that you can get, the T5. In typical new Volvo fashion, the car freaks out when you pop the hood. So my friends, I introduce you, I think for the first time, well, no, actually we saw the V60 cross country, but for the second time, I guess, the B4204 T18. Did I get that right? Let me make sure. B24, yeah, I did get that right. Yay. But this is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder from Volvo. But yes, you could find this engine in multiple other Volvo products, ranging from the small S60, which rest in peace, to the big XC90, and of course this. In this application, it makes 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And of course, power is going to all 4 wheels in this T5 all-wheel drive with Haldex Generation 5. For those that don't know, Haldex is a primarily front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system, but it's very proactive in sending that power to the rear axle. This is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and in terms of MPGs, thankfully this is pretty fuel efficient. Volvo rates this at 22 in the city, 30 on the highway, and a combined rating of 25. Joe's actually been getting about 27 or 28 MPG in this one, and considering that this thing has a light tune on it and the amount of power that it makes, I'd actually be pretty satisfied. One of the many reasons that I actually favor this powertrain in the new XC40, especially considering that they put this engine in an XC90, is that because this one is one of the lighter Volvos, this and the V60, this engine will be strained less in the XC40 than something heavy like an XC90. That's why years later, a lot of these XC40s are still relatively unfazed. Mainly one of the main issues that you'll run into with these will be the sunroof drains clogging, and that will cause water to intrude into the cabin when it rains really hard. Something very common that we would see at the dealership, but it is something easy to fix. If you don't address that, it can cause a lot of electrical problems with this thing. The only thing that you might run into if you find a used XC40 that hasn't been taken care of is if the previous owner has either cheaped out on oil changes or not done oil changes enough. These can have piston ring issues, which can cause this engine to burn some oil. But some of the 5-cylinders from Volvo also did this, so it really just comes down to maintenance. This thing certainly is small. This thing measures at 174.2 inches long, making it 14 inches shorter than the V60 cross country, 10 inches shorter than the XC60 in 2020, and then it's even 6 inches shorter than the Toyota RAV4. Again, because this one is the R-Design, it's riding on these 20-inch alloy wheels. They really do change the look of this car from a grandma mobile to something that's actually kind of sporty. Also, because this one is the R-Design, it's on slightly stiffer suspension, and you will notice that the suspension is stiffer. Another thing I wanted to mention is that Joe added the crossbars to this XC40, and that's one of my favorite mods that you can do to any car. Now, even though the XC40 is small, it is not useless. In fact, it is more useful than some other bigger SUVs that are out right now. As you can see, the XC40 does have a power tailgate. It opens quickly, and then it reveals 20.7 cubic feet of volume. I notice in a lot of small vehicles, it has this built-in tonneau cover, which is actually pretty handy. If you fold the second row seat down, which is a 60-40 split, then you get 47 cubic feet of volume. Just like in some other well-thought-out SUVs, you're able to lower and raise the load floor in the XC40 as well. So if you want, you can have a little bit more height in the trunk. But again, it's just a very useful little package. If you want to tow with this as well, you can tow 3,500 pounds with your all-wheel drive XC40. As we enter the back seat of this little big car, once again, you'll see there's so much room back here. I'm 5'9", and if you can see me in the dark, I actually have a lot of space. I will admit that the driver's seat is a little bit closer to the steering wheel than I sit, but it still is generally about how I would sit anyway. And I actually have a few inches of legroom, and headroom is really good even though this thing has the pano moonroof. It's also quite comfortable for being a little SUV back here, so thankfully it doesn't feel cheap. A lot of the slightly larger mainstream SUVs in this price category feel kind of crappy in the back seat, but the rear seat still feels soft and high quality. Again, because it's the R-Design, we have this sport interior. The bottom of the seat is a little bit firm, but I sit in the car comfortably. The door cards and everything feel nice. It doesn't feel cheap or chintzy. Thankfully, there are amenities in the back of the XC40. We have 2 air vents back here, so I won't be suffocating in the back seat of the XC40. There's also a USB-C port underneath the air vents, and we still have an armrest with 2 cup holders. And again, it feels nice for being a small car. Okay, so we can now enter the XC40. Welcome to the interior experience of the XC40. This is the key fob for the new XC40. It's new to me. This is Volvo's current key fob. We have the lock, unlock, trunk release, and the panic button on this side. Because of this, we have the smart key access system, which is standard. So all you need to do is just put your foot on the brake, keep this inside the car, and then press the start button to go. It is very familiar. If you're used to the new Volvos nowadays, you will notice that it's very minimalistic in here. They got rid of a lot of the buttons, but it still is pretty simple, even though everything is in the screen. Because this one is the R-Design, you can see this one has a beautiful 3-spoke leather wheel. There's beautiful bolsters on it. You can really hold the wheel well. You can also see, because this one is the R-Design, it has paddle shifters on both sides of the wheel. You can also see on the steering wheel itself, the buttons for the cruise control are on the left, and then the buttons on the right control the volume and audio controls and some of the Bluetooth functions, as well as let you see some of the information in the gauges. The gauges in the XC40 are full digital as well. Very easy to read. You can customize how it looks depending on the drive mode, or everything configures in this screen, which I like that in new cars you can configure everything. As you can see, you can have the map in the middle here. There's not too much to it. You can just see the trip computer and a few other things that you could cycle through, but very easy to read the gauges, not much glare. Behind the steering wheel on the left side, you can see that the headlights are automatic, and we do have, because this is a European car, even though Americans don't know how to use it, this has a front fog light and a rear fog light. On the right side of the steering wheel, we have rain sensing wipers, which is nice on this model. Fit and finish feels pretty nice in here. I really haven't had anything to complain about. I like that Volvo, it feels like they designed this car to just be small, but not cheap. The materials that they use, like, it's nothing extraordinary or anything like that, but it just feels nice in here, solid. So now we can get going in the XC40. I haven't really driven these things too much, besides since when I've been at work, and that's just been driving in this city. Initial impressions, the thing is very light. All these newer Volvos have a very lightweight feeling to them, which I like. I do like in the older P2s and P3s, they feel nice and heavy and like iron, which you kind of still feel the mini tank feeling from this car, but it just feels so much lighter overall. The steering feels light, very maneuverable. But this one has an aftermarket exhaust. It's just had some custom work to it. It's actually not too loud. I barely feel like I'm in a car that's modified. Look at that. Wow, it's a little boy driving it. We can put this in sport mode. This has it's called dynamic mode in this. Whoa, wow. Wow, that's funny. It farts like a dual clutch, but it's not dual clutch. That's so interesting. The XC40, again, I really like this 2-liter because it feels the most balanced in this car. The XC90, sure, they, add electric motors and they cranked the boost up a little bit to make it feel like it can handle that, but honestly, it feels like it's just straining more. But this car, it actually feels more at home. This and the V60. If you're driving on these normal little country roads, it's smooth. It's only when the roads get kind of rougher. Honestly, the exhaust isn't too bad at all. It sounded louder outside, but inside it's really not that bad at all. Even aside from the exhaust, I don't have much road noise, not much wind noise. It still feels like a premium little car. I sit comfortably in here. It's a great car to drive in this city. This has all the active safety features and anything that you could think about. We can go down this way. I've not been down this way in a little bit. The thing is really easy to drive, and I like the sound actually. It's kind of surprising. I'll go back into dynamic. Thankfully, you can actually use the screen. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. Wow. This thing handles well and it feels smooth. I don't feel like I'm being tossed around. Body roll is at a minimum. I mean, I'm not really corner carving in this thing yet, but compared to the normal XC40s, I've noticed that this has less body roll. It feels more composed. Driving the XC40 Momentum, even in T5 trim, it just feels a little bit clownish. In the past, I've heard other journalists complain about the census system in this. It's perfectly fine to me. I do notice that it has some quirks here and there, mostly with longevity. You know, you randomly turn the car on and then the screen will be black. But we're in this software-driven era of cars, so you can go to the dealer and then they can hopefully fix that. I haven't had any issues with them. It's nice, these new cars, they warn me about speed camera. I forget that. But I haven't had any issues myself because in all the cars that all the Volvos with this infotainment that I've used, I've just used the Apple CarPlay. There's an XC90 there. That's funny. Ha! On country roads, again, it's just a nice little car to drive. You don't really feel like you're driving something sporty necessarily, like an X3, but it definitely is more sharp and agile than something like what they make the GLB or GLA. All those, they're all boring and dreary. This has more of a little bit more character to it. Maybe we'll go around this corner here. It's really, flat. Like, I'm not sending it or anything, but it's just unfazed. And that's what I like about Volvos. They really grip the road like they're on rails. The steering, when I'm going through corners, it's pretty direct too. I don't feel like I'm lacking communication with the car. I know the 20s help with that too. Driving in the city, you're driving 10, 20 miles an hour, so you don't really feel the same, but I like this. I actually do. And I guess Volvo wanted this to be liked by young people, so I guess they did something right. The seats in this R-Design are also pretty comfortable. This does have the upgraded sports seats, so I do feel the bolsters. It's nothing crazy, it still is a more universal seat than anything. I feel good, I'm not rolling around, my back feels well supported. You see how the turning circle is as we go into this 7-Eleven. Well, we're not going to patronize them, but this is an ad for these people, I guess. I daily the V70 all the time, so I'm used to that barge. I love that thing, but this thing really handles much better. I like XC70. Get away! It's interesting in comfort mode, which I'm in now, it doesn't fart. I like how, I guess they tune the farts in there. That's kind of cool. The brakes feel good. It's a nice responsive feel. It's nothing like it has Brembos, but it's just a reassuring feeling. There's some other things, I know I have been just talking about how I like that this is a mini moose. That lady was on the phone. This thing, it's well packaged as well. There's a lot of storage for this little car. The cup holders aren't ridiculously small like some other luxury SUVs. This has a little garbage can that you can pull out. It's really nice. The center console is nicely sized. And again, it takes corners very nicely. If you're really pushing it, of course, it's gonna start leaning and heaving and hoeing, but it's good. We have things like memory seats, heated steering wheel. These new Volvos, if you've been in them, you'll know that the heated seats can burn your bum. It offers smooth power, this 2-liter. It just is a very light feeling car, and I like that. Even compared to the XC60, this just feels a little bit more nimble, tossable. It's just fun. Wow, okay, so now, yeah. I notice it's a little bit like more...
Your farts will be more aggressive in that.
Yeah, let's see.
It helps to boost and scavenge.
Interesting. So we'll go into Dynamique, see how she does. Just there a little bit. That's so funny. And of course, when you're in this dynamic mode, it firms up the steering, so it does feel a little bit heavier. The whole car just is a little bit more playful. This doesn't have things like adaptive suspension to control how firm or how soft it is, but it's good. Thankfully, in terms of the climate control, let's say, this has dual zone climate control, but thankfully all the controls for it are not hidden behind a menu. You just have to select climb it, and then it's there. And again, dual zone, very easy. The controls don't move, so that's why it's not frustrated me in this case. This is so rowdy, that's funny. But I'm not in something lame like that GLC. And then I feel like if I was in that GLC being fast like that, I'd look like a chotch. This looks hip and cool. It's a box, and boxes are cooler than soap. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our time with the XC40 R-Design. I really do appreciate my friend Joe for letting us look at his bursting blue beauty today. I really do understand the hype of this little car. It really is the perfect all-around daily driver because it isn't too big, you still get a useful trunk, and it's a Volvo. You get that mini moose feeling. I will acknowledge though, because of this recent death of the S60, I think this car killed the Volvo S60. Keep on rolling. I really do appreciate you watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Let me know in the comments what you drive. It doesn't have to just be a Volvo, you know me. There's people screaming, but I appreciate you hanging out with me. Bye, peeps.